You've been feeling the pressure increase, haven't you? The tension, the resistance, the confusion. You've prayed, fasted, stood firm, and still it feels like everything around you is trying to make you question if God is even moving. But what if I told you that pressure is proof? What if the very thing making you feel stuck is actually a sign that your breakthrough is closer than it's ever been? The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. So, if all hell is breaking loose around you, it might be because heaven is breaking through for you. You just don't see it yet, but he does. And that's what terrifies him. The first sign the enemy fears your breakthrough is that he suddenly intensifies the battle. He doesn't announce his fear with a trumpet. He shows it through warfare, unexpected opposition, old temptations resurrected, unusual fatigue, delays that don't make sense, doors that almost opened, then slammed shut. That's not coincidence. That's hell reacting to heaven's movement. Ephesians 6:12 reminds you that your fight isn't with flesh and blood. What you're feeling isn't just emotional or circumstantial, it's spiritual. The enemy senses the shift before you do, and his goal isn't to destroy your promise, it's to distract you from it. He knows he can't steal what God has already ordained for you. But if he can get you to doubt it, delay it, or disqualify yourself from it, he wins without even touching you. So, he intensifies the pressure, not because you're weak, but because you're close. You feel it in the tension of your prayers, how they used to flow and now feel like hitting a ceiling. You feel it in your mind, sudden confusion, spiritual fatigue, emotional roller coasters. You're not backsliding, you're crossing over. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. And the second sign, the enemy tries to resurrect the very things you buried. Old wounds, old sins, old habits you already laid on the altar. He wants to drag you backward so you never step forward. He knows you've been healing. He knows you've walked away from patterns that used to keep you stuck. So, he reintroduces them, not in obvious ways, but in familiar ones. A DM from the past, a voice of shame when you're vulnerable, a craving that comes in the midnight hour. This isn't failure, it's warfare. The enemy doesn't tempt you with what you're not attracted to. He comes for your comfort zones. He studies your triggers. And when he sees God elevating you, he tries to resurrect what used to bury you. But don't panic. Romans 6:6 declares, "Our old self was crucified with him, so that the body ruled by sin might be done away with." You don't have to pick up what God already killed. The fact that it's trying to come back isn't a sign you failed. It's a sign you're being refined. You're not slipping. You're shedding. The enemy throws dirt on what's growing because he knows the soil is holy. He doesn't want you to realize how strong you've become. So he tries to make you believe you're the same as before. But look at how far you've come. You're not the same. You may feel shaken, but you're still standing. You're still praising. You're still praying. You're still pressing in when it would have been easier to walk away. And that's what scares him. That you haven't quit. That you still show up when nothing makes sense. That your yes is louder than your feelings. That your worship didn't stop in the fire. And this leads to the third sign. The enemy starts attacking your identity, not your circumstances. You. He makes you question who you are. Are you really chosen? Are you really anointed? Are you really called? He wants to confuse your name, because he knows God is about to reveal your assignment. It's the same tactic he used on Jesus in the wilderness. If you are the Son of God, the attack wasn't about hunger, it was about identity. Because if the enemy can get you to doubt who you are, he doesn't have to fight who you'll become. That's why the confusion feels so personal right now. That's why you've been wondering, God, am I still yours? Am I really equipped for this? Yes, you are. Because God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And the enemy's accusations don't get the final word. God's promises do. Isaiah 43:1 says, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Heaven has already stamped your identity. The battle now is to believe it, to speak it, to walk in it, even when it's shaky, even when you don't feel like enough, because your identity isn't in your perfection, it's in your position. You belong to the King, and hell knows it. And in part 2, we'll go even deeper into the 4th and 5th signs that hell fears what's coming next for you, and what you can do right now to keep moving through the warfare and into the promise. The 4th sign the enemy fears your breakthrough is that he tries to isolate you emotionally and spiritually. Not just to make you feel alone, but to make you believe you are forgotten. He whispers that your prayers are pointless, that your praise is powerless, that your presence doesn't matter. He uses distance as a weapon, not just from people, but from God. He convinces you that no one understands, no one sees, no one hears, and not even heaven is responding. You start to pull away, not in rebellion, but in retreat. You show up with your body, but not with your heart. You go through the motions, hoping something will click, but feeling like the heavens are brass. This isolation isn't accidental. It's a setup, because the enemy knows that if he can convince you you're alone, you'll stop fighting like someone who's backed by the armies of heaven. He knows Ecclesiastes 4:12 is true. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. He wants to break your agreement with heaven. He wants to silence your intercession, wear down your endurance, and make you forget that the presence of God hasn't left you. It's just not loud right now, because real intimacy doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes with stillness. Sometimes it comes when you worship anyway. When you lift your hands and say, "God, I don't feel you, but I still trust you." That moment, that's spiritual warfare. That's holy defiance. That's the kind of worship that shakes hell. Because you're not worshiping for what you feel. You're worshiping for who you know. And the enemy hates that. Because that kind of faith is unshakable. That kind of faith walks through fire and doesn't flinch. That kind of faith splits seas, shakes prisons, and silences lions. And right now, while he's trying to isolate you, what you need to remember is this: you're not alone, not for a second. Heaven has been watching you, backing you, covering you. Psalm 34:18 declares, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." You are not abandoned. You are being refined. The fire isn't punishment, it's purification. And the more the enemy tries to convince you you're alone, the more you need to stand in the truth that God is near, always near. And now, we step into the 5th and final sign the enemy fears your breakthrough. He starts pressuring you to settle, not in obvious ways, but subtle ones. He whispers that maybe you should lower your expectations. Maybe the promise was too big. Maybe you should take the safer route. Maybe this is all there is. He tries to wear you down so you'll accept less than what God said. This is how he steals destinies. Not through destruction, but through compromise. He offers you what looks good, so you won't wait for what's God. He did it with Eve. Did God really say? He did it with Jesus. All these kingdoms I will give you if you just bow. He'll do it with you. He'll tempt you with relationships that look right, but drain your fire. He'll offer positions that elevate your platform, but dilute your purity. He'll present options that seem logical, but lack the breath of God. Because if he can't kill your calling, he'll try to cripple it. He'll try to convince you that comfort is better than calling, that fitting in is safer than being set apart. But don't fall for it. Don't give up the glory for the illusion of peace. Don't trade your altar for a stage. Don't let delay make you settle for something you were never meant to touch. Galatians 6:9 is your sword right now. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. The pressure to settle is confirmation that your harvest is near. Don't plant your tent where God called you to build altars. Don't marry a moment you were only meant to minister in. Don't accept almost when God promised exceedingly. The reason the warfare has increased is because the enemy knows if you say yes to the real thing, hell loses ground. If you keep standing, keep praying, keep believing, something's going to break. And it's not going to be you. It's going to be the chains that tried to hold you back. You were never meant to settle. You were meant to shake kingdoms. And now, with every one of these 5 signs, you know what's really happening. The enemy isn't attacking you because you're weak. He's afraid because you're dangerous. Because what's inside you is about to shift atmospheres. And in part 3, we'll speak directly to what to do next. How to walk through this pressure with purpose, how to resist without collapsing, and how to stand your ground until the breakthrough you were promised manifests in full. Because now you know this isn't random and you're not weak. This pressure, this intensity, this spiritual weight sitting on your chest when you pray, this strange silence in the middle of your obedience, this resistance that keeps rising the moment you take a step forward, it's all connected. Hell is reacting because heaven is moving. And now it's not enough to just recognize the signs. You need to respond. Part 3 begins here. How you stand when everything tries to push you back. Because breakthrough isn't just a blessing, it's a battle. And the ones who walk into it are not the strongest. They're the most surrendered. The first thing you must do when the enemy fears your breakthrough is double down on your obedience, especially in the little things. The enemy wants to overwhelm you with the big picture, so you miss the next small step. But the way you win in the Spirit is by taking one obedient step after another. Even when you feel nothing, even when you don't see results, you read the word when it feels dry. You pray when you feel empty. You forgive when your emotions scream revenge. You tithe when it's tight. You worship when your heart is heavy. Because obedience isn't about feeling inspired. It's about staying aligned. And every act of obedience is a weapon. Deuteronomy 28:1 reminds you of the power of positioning. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. Your obedience is creating altars, carving paths, opening realms. And the enemy knows it. That's why he's trying to make you disobedient through delay. He wants to wear you down, so you think your next step doesn't matter. But it does. Every single one does. And if you stay the course, you walk straight into breakthrough, on purpose. The second response is to guard your confession like your life depends on it, because it does. When the pressure increases, your mouth becomes a battlefield. The enemy can't stop your destiny, but if he can make you speak death over it, he'll get you to curse what God's trying to bless. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death." And in moments like this, your words are not commentary, they're creation. You must speak what God has spoken, not your doubts, not your fears, not your opinions, His promises. When the enemy whispers, "You'll never make it," you declare, "He who began a good work in me will carry it on to completion." Philippians 1:6. When he says, "You're too weak," you say, "His power is made perfect in my weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. When he says, "You're forgotten," you say, "He has engraved me on the palms of his hands." Isaiah 49:16. You speak like someone who believes. You prophesy to your own bones. You pray louder than your panic, because if you won't speak life, you'll end up agreeing with the lie. And silence is not neutrality, it's agreement. So fill the silence with truth. Flood the darkness with declaration. Heaven moves when you speak the word, not your worry. And the third thing, you must refuse to isolate yourself. When you feel under attack, the temptation is to retreat, hide, go silent, disconnect. You think no one would understand. You think your presence doesn't matter. But isolation is a strategy of the enemy. It's not protection, it's a prison. Ecclesiastes 4:10 says, "If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But if you're alone, there's no one to pull you out when the darkness gets heavy." God created community for your strength, not your status. You need people who know how to pray fire when you forget how to whisper. You need friends who remind you who you are when warfare tries to lie to you. You need covering, accountability, agreement, because the moment two or more gather in His name, heaven invades, and when heaven invades, hell has to back off. Don't let pride, shame, or exhaustion isolate you. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to stay connected. And the fourth response? Fast and pray. Not to twist God's arm, but to sharpen your spirit. Fasting isn't a transaction, it's a transformation. It quiets the flesh so you can hear the whisper of God again. It breaks the fog. It ignites discernment. It brings your spirit back into focus. And when you fast, you're not just starving the body, you're starving doubt, fear, distraction. You're silencing the static. Jesus fasted before He stepped into public ministry, not because He was weak, but because He was wise. He knew that power comes from posture, that authority comes from alignment. And if Jesus needed fasting to face the enemy in the wilderness, so do you. Don't fast for a miracle. Fast to become the person who can carry one. And finally, the fifth response. Don't just wait for breakthrough. Become breakthrough. You've been praying for God to open the door, shift the atmosphere, deliver the promise. But what if you are the shift? What if the answer to someone else's prayer is the fire inside you, refusing to go out? What if your survival is someone's sign that they too can make it through? You are not just a receiver, you are a carrier. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is in you. And when you walk into a room full of doubt and choose faith anyway, that's breakthrough. When you worship in heartbreak, when you give in lack, when you stay faithful in silence, that's breakthrough. Not just for you, but for everyone watching your life. You don't always see it, but people are watching. Heaven is watching. Hell is watching. And every time you keep going, when you should have quit, the ground shakes, chains snap, darkness retreats. Because you didn't wait for change to come, you became it. And in part 4, we'll step into the afterglow of the battle. How to walk with breakthrough, how to protect what you've gained, and how to steward the promise so it multiplies into generations. Because the moment breakthrough comes, the real work begins. Not just celebrating what God has done, but protecting it. In part 4, you learn that breakthrough is not just an event, it's a stewardship. God doesn't release blessing so you can relax. He releases it so you can rebuild. The enemy knows this, and that's why his attacks don't stop when breakthrough arrives. Sometimes they intensify, because if he can't stop what God gave you, he'll try to corrupt how you carry it. So now, your posture must shift from war mode to watchman. The first way to protect your breakthrough is to stay rooted in the presence that gave it to you. You didn't break through because of your strength. You broke through because you stayed close. You stayed humble. You stayed low before the throne when everything screamed for you to give up. And now, the enemy will try to get you to drift. He'll distract you with the results of breakthrough, opportunities, noise, open doors, elevation. He'll make you so busy walking in what you prayed for that you forget to sit with the one who gave it. But don't move without presence. Don't let the blessing become your idol. Don't let the gift replace the giver. Exodus 33:15 must be your cry. If your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. Breakthrough without presence is just noise. It's empty. It won't last. Stay close. Wake up early. Guard your mornings. Protect your peace. Carry his voice into every room you enter, because that's what real breakthrough looks like. Peace in your soul while everything around you shifts. The second way to protect what you've gained is to stay small in your own eyes, even when God expands your territory. Elevation without humility becomes a trap. Breakthrough without brokenness becomes pride. And pride is the fastest way to forfeit what God fought to give you. Saul lost his throne because he stopped listening to correction. He forgot where the oil came from. He became more obsessed with the opinion of people than the presence of God. And it cost him everything. 1 Samuel 15:17 haunts with truth. Though you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? Stay small. Remember the cave. Remember the silence. Remember how God met you when no one else could. Let gratitude anchor you. Let brokenness remain your posture, because the more he gives you, the more you'll need his hand to carry it. And the more visible you become, the more invisible you'll need to be in prayer. The third way to walk with breakthrough is to stay generous with what God gave you. You weren't blessed to hoard, you were blessed to release. What you survived was not just for your freedom, it was for others' deliverance. Tell your story, share the testimony. Don't sanitize it. Don't filter it. Let people see the scar. Let them feel the oil that flows from your pain. Revelation 12:11 says, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." Your breakthrough becomes someone else's lifeline when you speak it. Don't let shame silence your survival. Don't let the enemy keep you quiet about what God pulled you out of. There's someone drowning in the same pit, waiting to hear that someone else made it out. And you did. So speak it, write it, release it, because you never know whose freedom is tied to your obedience. The fourth way to steward breakthrough is to expect resistance but don't fear it. Walking in answered prayer doesn't mean the warfare disappears. It just changes shape. The enemy will attack from a new angle. He'll try to make you think that just because opposition returned, the breakthrough wasn't real. But that's a lie. The Israelites still had to fight after the Red Sea. David still faced battles after the crown. Jesus still faced Gethsemane after the miracles. Resistance is not a sign that the promise failed. It's a sign that the promise matters. So don't panic when the fire flares up. Expect it. Armor up. Ephesians 6 is still your manual. Belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, sword of the Spirit. You don't fight for victory now. You fight from it. And the final way to carry breakthrough well? Multiply it. Don't just hold it. Build with it. Grow with it. Let the oil that was forged in your crushing become a lamp for someone else's path. Let the wisdom you bled for become a blueprint for the next generation. Let the purity you fought to reclaim shape the way you raise your family, run your business, serve your church. Don't just come out blessed. Come out different. Come out deeper. Come out cleaner. Come out carrying something the world can't take from you. Because this isn't just about you. This is legacy. This is kingdom. This is the seed of something that will outlive you. And now, you're walking in it. But how do you keep that fire burning? How do you stay lit when the lights dim again? In part 5, the conclusion, we'll speak to your spirit with fire and finality. How to endure when the battle circles back, how to stay burning when the oil is low, and how to stand forever, changed by the very breakthrough hell tried to stop. Because if breakthrough brought you this far, it's going to take more than a setback to stop you now. This final part isn't just a conclusion, it's a charge, because you didn't walk through hell just to forget heaven. You didn't survive the fire just to live like nothing changed. You are not the same, and you cannot go back. You've come through too much, seen too much, lost too much, prayed too hard, fasted too long to ever return to who you were before. This is part 5, the moment you recognize that breakthrough is not just what you walked into, it's who you've become. The enemy tried everything. He whispered lies. He sent confusion. He stirred up warfare and pulled up every chain he thought might still fit you. But it didn't work. You're still standing, still burning, still here. You didn't just endure, you evolved. And now it's time to live like someone who's crossed over. Because the greatest tragedy after breakthrough is acting like you're still bound. You're not. You're free. You're whole. You're filled. And now you must protect that fire like your future depends on it. Because it does. So, when the battle comes back, and it will, you fight like someone who's been trained in darkness. You don't flinch when the wind picks up. You don't question your calling when the silence returns. You don't doubt the oil just because you can't feel the overflow. Because you've learned that fire doesn't always feel like fire. Sometimes it looks like discipline. Sometimes it sounds like stillness. Sometimes it feels like delay. But now you know how to carry it anyway. You don't wait to feel ready. You stay ready. You stay lit. You stay armed. Because your praise isn't reactive anymore. It's prophetic. Your obedience isn't shallow. It's rooted. Your faith isn't fragile. It's fire-tested. And when the enemy shows up again, you won't panic. You'll prophesy. You'll open your mouth and say, I've been here before, and I already know how this ends. Because the same God who brought you through the last fire is the one who's walking with you into this next season. You won't be shaken this time. You won't question your worth this time. You won't shrink under pressure or settle for safety. You'll rise, and when you do, it won't be flashy. It'll be faithful. That's what hell fears most. Not your gifting, your consistency. Not your title, your tenacity. Not your volume, your conviction. Because you walk different now. You pray with weight now. You carry oil now. You're not hoping for breakthrough. You are breakthrough. Your testimony is evidence. Your scars are sermons. Your posture is prophetic. And everything the enemy used to break you has become the very foundation God is building on. Romans 8:28 is alive in your bones. He really is working all things together for good. Even the betrayal, even the loss, even the silence, especially the silence, because it was in the silence that God made you sharp. It was in the hidden place that He made you holy. It was in the warfare that He taught your hands to war and your fingers to fight. Psalm 144:1 wasn't a metaphor. It was your reality. And now, you don't fight for your life. You fight for legacy. You fight for every soul that's still trapped in the pit you climbed out of. You fight for purpose that outlives your platform. You fight for joy that doesn't flinch, hope that doesn't bow, and faith that doesn't crack under pressure. You fight for what God put in you when no one else believed. You fight with vision. You fight with fire. You fight with truth. And you don't back down. Because now you know who you are. You're chosen. You're sealed. You're dangerous to the darkness. And every time you walk in obedience, hell trembles. Every time you open your mouth and speak life, chains snap. Every time you step forward when fear says retreat, the enemy loses territory. This is not the end of your story. This is the release of it. God's about to do more with your yes than He ever could with your comfort. So stay ready. Stay surrendered. Stay on fire. You didn't just come through breakthrough. You've become someone hell will regret touching. And the next time you feel the battle intensify, don't ask, God, why is this happening? Ask, Lord, what are you about to release? Because now you know, when the enemy starts shaking, it's because heaven is about to speak. And this time, you won't just walk into breakthrough, you'll carry it. And because you carry it now, you can no longer be casual with your calling. You can no longer afford to doubt what God has branded into your spirit through the flame. You can no longer delay your obedience, waiting for perfect conditions. Because when you are the breakthrough, you move differently. You don't ask if you're ready. You remind the enemy who you are. You stand when others sit down. You speak life when others stay silent. You war with worship when others collapse in worry. Because this isn't about feeling equipped anymore. This is about knowing you've been made dangerous through the pressing, through the silence, through the storm that didn't drown you but baptized you in fire. And now that you've crossed over, you refuse to go back. You refuse to shrink. You refuse to give up territory your tears already paid for. Because you bled too much in secret to let the enemy rob you in public. You've cried too long behind closed doors to let fear close doors that God already opened. And now your roar isn't pride, it's revelation. It's the sound of someone who came through the darkness and found their voice in it. Someone who came through the silence and found their song in it. Someone who came through hell and still came out holding heaven. Because the battle wasn't just about what God had for you, it was about what God put in you. And now the enemy can't unsee what you've become. You are not just a survivor. You are a sign that God still delivers, still restores, still heals, still calls ordinary people into holy fire, still raises up nobodies to shake kingdoms, still takes ashes and breathes on them until they burn again. And because of that, because of the breakthrough you carry now, it's your turn to release it. It's your turn to intercede for someone else. It's your turn to lay hands on the next generation. It's your turn to prophesy what others are too scared to say. It's your turn to build what hell tried to tear down. It's your turn to plant what was once barren. It's your turn to stand on the rubble and declare, this is where revival begins. Because breakthrough was never just for your comfort. It was for commission. And the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead now speaks through you, walks through you, intercedes through you. And if you dare to believe it, you'll see the same breakthrough you just walked through ripple into your family, your community, your city, your region. Because when one child of God breaks through, generations feel it. So don't hide now. Don't shrink now. Don't forget what the dark taught you, because the oil is still flowing and the fire is still burning. And the one thing the enemy never counted on was this, that you'd make it through and still burn hotter, still love deeper, still worship louder, still surrender even harder, still say yes with tears in your eyes, still lift your hands when your heart's been crushed. And that, right there, is what makes you unstoppable. Not your perfection, but your perseverance. Not your platform, but your posture. Not your knowledge, but your knowing. Because deep down you know, you've been forged for this. You've been refined for this. You've been prepared in the secret place for this. And if God didn't let it kill you, then He's going to use it to launch you. And if the enemy couldn't take you out, then God's about to raise you up. And from this day forward, you don't just wait for breakthrough. You walk in it, you war from it, you worship through it, and you carry it like fire in your bones, because the one thing the enemy fears most is already true. You made it, and now you're never going back.